Dit is Music Runs the World, de podcast voor muziekindustrie insiders. Ik ben je host JP en hier proberen we samen de geheimen van de business te kraken, one conversation at a time. Van management tot live event, van publishing tot marketing. Welkom bij Music Runs the World.
Throughout the years, Debonair not only started being an artist agency, but also like a creative hub. I think honesty is the most important one. You have to tell them everything. You have to protect yourself, that there's moments in the evening if you haven't seen your phone for a few hours, that it's not the end of the world.
Hello everyone, my name is JP from Music Runs the World. I'm back here at Tomorrowland on the Dreamville camping with Love Tomorrow. Today with another special guest, Glenn De Leener. He's head of business at Debonair and works with Charlotte Witte, Contacts, Bazaar, a lot of great artists. Hi Glenn.
Hey, hello.
How are you?
Good. Nice to be back and nice to be here.
Yeah, Tomorrowland is not it's a familiar place for you.
I've spent some time here. I worked here at the office at We Are One World, or from 2013 until I left in 2020. So,
for the people that don't know you, what is one thing that people need to know about you as a person?
I think I hardworking, but loves to be. Well, I think that people find me a very pleasant person to work with. I think hardworking but pleasant to work with.
That's important.
Yeah, I think that sums it up a bit.
Especially if you work with artists all day, every day, it's a very close relationship. So if you're not easy to work with, then
everything is personal. Everything that you do is for artists. They're always an artist. So everything is personal for them. So I think you always challenge them or want them to do things differently, or you want to push them things on doing something that they may or may not want to do. But if they feel that you are generally that you are trying to help them or pushing them in the right direction, I think that always helps on being a genuinely good guy.
Yeah. Maybe before we jump into what you're working on today, could you briefly sketch for us like the career you've been through? Because you're now head of business at Debonair, so management home for, as I said, Charlotte Witte, Bazaar, Glintz. But you graduated as an educator, so a totally different background.
Yes.
How did you get from point A to point B in a nutshell?
I left the studies on being an educator, and I just think that I mentally wasn't ready yet to. I did some interns at working with kids that have a difficult background or a tough background, and I just felt that as an 18-year-old, like a 19-year-old, I wasn't ready to do those hardworking mentally. So I thought that it's something that I could do later on in my career. I ended up working at a marketing agency, Square Melon, which did generally brand activations. So I got into the world of brands early stage, and I moved very quickly on being like a coordinator for festivals and events, mainly AB InBev, Coca-Cola. So I managed the activations, but also 360 campaigns. I did that for about 4 years, and then there was no way back on being
sold on brand.
Non-brand anymore. I worked for me. Coca-Cola was always, I did like these Christmas trucks and the festival, the classics. And then I got in contact with the brand manager from Coca-Cola, who moved from Coca-Cola towards working for Tomorrowland somewhere around 2012. And I was already a very big fan of the festival. I visited a few times, and ever since I knew that, I told you I sent my resume, I think every 3 weeks for that upcoming year. So it was
Persistence.
Just I knew that I wanted to work at the festival and was not letting go. And then I think a few months later, when they was looking for a new colleague, was probably top of mind. And then I knew that I had one chance to convince them, and then I entered being the partnership manager for the Belgian festival, and I did that for almost 8 years. Yeah.
All right.
And then the office of Tomorrowland was in Antwerp. I lived in Brussels. Having 2 kids, it was too difficult. So each and every time, I spent, I think, 3 to 4 hours a day in the car, stuck in traffic. I knew that I wanted to spend my time a little more quality.
Yeah, you can listen to podcasts, but after a while.
Well, yeah, each and every podcast. Oh my God, Joe Rogan, I did a lot of them. And then I told the bosses that wanted to skip jobs, and then they introduced me to Alexander, who owns Debonair and also owns KNTXT together with Charlotte. And actually, we talked. Corona was in between, but actually, well, I think in 2021, when Corona was still a thing, we decided on not only receiving for a lot of artists brand proposals, but also starting creating ones. Saying like, actually the strategy was, let's creative ideas of our own and try to sell them to brands. So that's what I started with, and I actually ended up in a lot of business developing. KNTXT got bigger. Charlotte definitely got bigger. So, and actually, throughout the years, Debonair not only started being an artist agency, but also like a creative hub. So we try to, in an artist's career, there's, you do music has been the same for 50 years.
Music is a commodity.
Yeah, so they you write music, you produce music, they release it, do press releases, and we said like this is a continuity. So your career is always going to be the same if you want to grow. We believe that creativity and doing stuff outside only releasing or performing is going to help you build your own artist brand.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a concrete example of how do you approach that for one of your artists? Like how does creativity translate itself to something new around that artist?
I feel the best example is what we did with Bazaar for I think one of the most biggest alternative pop bands in Belgium.
For sure.
Mathieu Terrein, the lead singer, says like, I wanted to have a career outside the band only, or actually creating my persona, which grows the band. A good example is Clouseau as well.
Yeah.
And Mathieu is being known as being a good singer, but also as a big foodie. So what we did is we looked for what type of food he likes. It was dirty street style food, hamburgers, and we decided why not build creativity around the idea from burgers. And so we ended up creating Drip, which is a hamburger festival in Antwerp.
Yeah, I checked the website. It looks very juicy.
Very juicy. So which was just an idea, like we built a hamburger festival, which is a different kind of food festival where you can experience cocktails, where you can experience very good food. And it's at the end, it's all just to push Mathieu and Bazaar's image. So we could now, for example, Drip has been sold out last year. We sold almost 6,000 tickets, and we're gonna do a new edition probably in Amsterdam. But it's also a way. Sometimes Mathieu walks around in Amsterdam, and people come up to him like, "Hey, you're the guy from Drip," and for us, it's a good sign because people start to know him in the Netherlands as well, and it all builds.
And how does these two link together then? Is it something that he promotes on his personal channels or through Bazaar, or is it other way around? Like the festival is a way to the artist.
Yeah, the festival should live on itself, but you can't think of Drip without thinking about Mathieu Terrain. And so we try to do like these collab posts between Mathieu and Drip, but also Mathieu does it for Bazaar. So we try to generate that it's fans. It's something that we build on the long term. We think it helps on being relevant the whole time. Outside, for example, they have been writing an album the whole year now. Well, people have been talking about Drip and talking about Mathieu, and it keeps everything fresh.
So it's actually also you're trying to first build on the character of a person, because an artist is not just defined by his music, but also letting people into their worlds in the sense of
it's not building. It's essentially what Mathieu is. It's using what he is. He's a genuine, very very funny, cool guy and it's showing what his interest is in. And coming to Drip is exactly, he curates all the food, all, so he knows each and every chef that visits us. Yeah. So when you enter the festival, it's exactly his character, everything that he likes, everything that he visited throughout the whole year.
Very cool.
Yeah.
If you take Charlotte de Witte, because there you're going a step further, you have a label built around her. You have Context, and then a sub-label, also Epoch now. She's actually creating, for me, like her own culture around her music. How do you manage to build a strong community around that? Because that opens the gate really to letting a community come in and just building around the people that love the music, that connected through that music, through the label.
Yeah, it's a bit the same as the example with Mathieu, but it's also I'm going to give an example. A few years ago, when we were in Corona, a lot of people sent these requests to let Charlotte do a live stream. Essentially, we understand that it's a business thing, but Charlotte didn't really likes doing these live streams alone. She likes being rounded with crowd, with people. She likes the rave culture. It's really something that she likes. We try to find these things as well, creating these sub brands that also defines how Charlotte is. Charlotte very much likes the rave culture that we have here in Belgium. She's very proud of it as well. So why not doing something or creating a sub label as Epoch, which defines very much what Charlotte likes. And it's fun to do as well. As a company, we have to find these tracks where we can have the rights on, have people speaking about to other artists. Do you want to remix that track? Working together with guys like Bonsai All Stars, legends. We all seen the Red Bull documentary. Yeah, it's so close to her character that it's for her. It's not a job. She's so passionate about it, and it's cool to work and to build these remixes. For example, now we have a remix with techno DJ Anna that has done Pulvertrum, which is an iconic track from the 90s as well. And you see that it's generating a lot of streams. You see that this is becoming a thing. It's being played at Tomorrowland a few times now. So it's helps building the brand of Charlotte. Charlotte is helping building this heritage of the Belgian culture that we have.
Yeah, linking old with the new,
mixing all with the new. So the goal with Epoch is actually that we try to inspire the generation of techno artists now and remixing these iconic tracks, but also using social media to really build a platform on educating fans, like why this track was so iconic in the 90s, or at what time and spirit did it lived. And it's cool. There's so much catalog to work with. As we speak, we're doing Jesse Mackenzie. You have Tiesto in the 90s that made such an iconic trance tracks. It's
and it's still a big name nowadays.
Yes,
a lot of those names back then were huge, and now a lot of the youth don't know them. But Tiesto is an example that's still.
Tiesto is a very good example on a guy that creates so iconic tracks, and sometimes he still plays them, but it's Tiesto did arenas already in the 90s, so
And why start a label for Charlotte? Actually, what was the inspiration there?
Well, Charlotte's did well when she became a bigger artist, and she tried to, let her publish her music. It has not always been on in a good way. It has been with bumps. These trying to get your music published and art. It's not easy. It's not easy.
No.
There's a lot of administration. I'm not the label expert, but I know that the path hasn't been going that well. And she wanted to build a platform for artists that's in a right way. We wanted to have do you know that your paperwork is good as an artist? The publishing, the rights that it has been done, that the artists make money out of it, that it's being promoted in a good way. Each and every, we try as much as we can that it's being pressed on vinyl as well, because it's a thing for these artists as well. So we just want to build a family and a home that's being done in the right way, and we're not perfect, but we try to build something that is genuinely a good label.
Yeah. By artists for artists, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. And in that part, Charlotte still does the A&R. She's still the person who gets in contact, that asks artists do you have new music? Shall I listen to it? Shall I give my feedback? She puts in a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think that's also doing worldwide a lot of events, and on a scale, it's always with artists that release on the label itself, and they're not always the big names. And now we do have we have some names that has grown with the label, Indira Paganotto, for example, but there are still upcoming artists that grow and each and every time get their place, and not only as the opener.
Important.
So I think generally it's scaling the artists, scaling the music. Charlotte that uses her social media to promote the tracks, and not only hers a lot. And also it works that the context socials grow eventually.
Yeah.
That you not only need Charlotte's channels, but I think that we now have 250,000 followers, so it's
but it's nice that you build something. It starts from the artist. It's a seed that grows, and then it starts to have a life of its own.
Yeah. We would love to have more releases, but also it takes a lot of time to release something. You want to do it well. You want to
especially if you want to do it well.
Yeah, well, build a campaign on it. Do some advertising on it. We really want to grow these listening hours as well. So it's I think that the growth of the songs now is priority on these artists, I think.
Very nice. You're good with people. That's what we established at the beginning. I think that's a very important asset if you're working with artists, because like you said to me, for you it's you start working, you close your laptop at night, and it's kind of done.
Yeah.
For an artist it's 24/7. If you're passionate about what you do, you never let it go. How do you deal with that on a personal level, like when working with someone who never turns it off and is always in their heads with the next thing, or how should they lead their lives?
I think honesty is the most important one. You have to you have to tell them everything. If stuff is not going well, then you need to tell them as well. I think that if an artist just knows the whole story, but they know that you're trying your best and as much as you can to get things fixed or get things done, then we try each and every time. The company and the people behind Charlotte and Bazaar and all the artists, we really have a passion, and we work very hard to, each and every artist still wants to grow. That's the cool thing about it. Every time, every day, we're building on, okay, how can we get the artist bigger? They know that we are doing the best we can each and every day. But I think honesty is just like, we tried this, it's not working, but we're going to get things fixed. And this is the way that we try do you agree? Do you think yourself that we should do it differently? And if they know everything, you generally know that they're trying. They're also each and every time it's learning. We have we have launched shows before that we think, for example, we should do a fan registration and we should build data, and sometimes it just does not work. But for the next show, we should do it differently. Yeah, but there's someone else that says, yeah, maybe you should do the pre-registrations. Yeah, maybe not. We tried it a few times before. It just doesn't work for us. I think if you're generally honest and always inform the artist as much as you can about the thing that's relevant, that they should know, I think that's the easiest way on working and being honest to yourself and to them.
And how do you have the hard conversations with them? Like, what's your approach? Because it's a lot about empathizing, like you said.
We try to have our weekly calls together with the whole team to inform them the things that are being requested, things that are on the schedule, social media, and then if things are being explained that are sensitive, we call them personally. Sometimes it's also me that calls Charlotte for a brand partnership, to explain a brand partnership, for example. It's something that they have to do a lot of returning social media, explaining very into detail, this is exactly what you need to do. Sometimes if it's bad news, then Alex takes the lead, and Alexander takes the lead as being our boss. Say, guys, this is something I should explain to Charlotte, or I should explain to any artist. It's my role, my job. But it's also, in a good way, he takes his position there.
Yeah, because for me, it's always, if you have an artist that understands, there's with music, it's always there's this coalition between artistry and business, and sometimes it's very hard to distinguish the two from each other because they're so intertwined. Do you feel that that's a hard topic to talk about when it's just about the business part of the artistry and trying to take the emotion out of it for artists, or is it quite an easy conversation for you?
It depends. It depends on the topic. If it's business is business. The artist always wants the business to grow, so it's not a bad thing if things are not going well. Sometimes, then you just need to talk about it. Not talking about it is only going to make the problem bigger, as always, as everything.
General life lesson.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the artists that we work with. They're all genuinely good people to work with, fun people to work with, hardworking. They put in the work as well. It's not only we that work a lot on getting stuff done, but it's also them. Personally, Glintz is also a guy that has now. It has taken a few years, but now he released Roma. Now we did a track at Rock Werchter together with Dan, not a housewife, but it's really. But he puts in a lot of work. Charlotte as well. She's so hardworking. I think if we now have to plan, for example, a photo shoot with her, it's like, okay, let's check September. There's not a day that she's not working, touring. So it's keeping the balance for her as well. To say like, it's okay, take a day off, but they work. She works each and every time.
Do you guard that for them as well, like to have for them to take, because sometimes you're so into the drive that you don't realize that you need to stop because you're gonna hit a wall otherwise.
Yeah. She's Charlotte. I think Charlotte has the most travel from all of our artists, but it's definitely something that we have to keep in mind of. Well,
but even for a bazaar, even if you do Belgium,
they spend so much time in studios. They're always working. It's what they do. They're always working. It's keeping the balance is very important. Well,
how do you see them dealing with fame? Because there's the aspect of working, and then once you become a familiar person, you get recognized, or like you said, you can't have a decent meal in a restaurant without people coming up to you for selfies. How do you deal with that as a management, and how do you see artists dealing with that?
Well, I think it's something that they protect themselves as well. Charlotte, for example, is the last few years has become very very popular. Um, when we do these tours in the States or Europe, it's there's not a moment that you can stand outside your hotel or she's not being recognized.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the good thing is that she loves being an artist and loves having a lot of fans. So she very much likes that part
She
of being.
embraces it.
Yeah, well, she likes it that she knows that these artists are the reason why they come to show, why we do so much big shows. But it's mentally, I think that they're protecting. For example, if I think something, it's just a beautiful thing as well. When Charlotte has a day off, she doesn't like to take pictures, just to have like a moment that she doesn't hit. Am I looking all right? So she gives the fans hugs. It's a very cool thing, but it's just mentally like,
Wow.
hey,
Yeah.
today I'm just having a day off. I prefer not to have any pictures today, which is generally not being like, hey, I'm an artist,
No.
just like saying, you want a hug?
She's
Is a hug
person, I
okay?
mean, yeah.
I generally think it's a very very beautiful thing to do, but it's just protecting yourself on not always have to be on pictures, and I think for Charlotte it's also when you don't have any chance booking vacations, booking vacations where you can have your moments of calm and not have to be an artist each and every day. That helps on just doing nothing for a whole day and just
Just recharge your batteries.
as
That's-
vacation should be. Yeah.
and
yeah.
and for you as well. I mean, even if you're the guys behind, you're practically always on call for certain stuff. Do you turn off your phone when you're on holiday?
Oh,
Can you?
I would love to see that. My kids say, yeah, he does sometimes. But we have to protect ourselves as well. Just because you wanted to, if an artist has a question or you always wanted to be ready for them. You want to have an answer when they are having any doubts about anything. But I think it's easier now on creating a little bit of a bigger team so that you could, if someone goes on holiday, say like we got it covered. That helps. When we were smaller and just 3 to 4 people, you're always working. And it's not ideal, but the good thing is that we do our work with so much passion that it doesn't. For me personally, it doesn't always feel like working. Although I do love to be paid, but it doesn't feel like working. We're all working towards a goal on creating the coolest, biggest, and most creative agency, and so it doesn't feel like working. But you have to protect yourself. That there's moments in the evening if you haven't seen your phone for a few hours, that's not the end of the world. I think the artist also knows it, but it's passion. You do it anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. For for the next, let's say 5 years, what excites you in the near future at Debonair?
Huh.
Things you can talk about, of course, because probably some things you.
No, there's definitely for me, I personally, in our business, I'm very much looking forward on extending that creativity. Not each and every year has been the same. If like a few weeks ago we spoke in the office, like, was it a calm year actually, 2024 or 23, and then actually when you sum up what you done, so we released Epoch, we did Drip, we sold out Flanders Expo with Charlotte. You do so much and you forgot, oh yeah, that's it was only 1 month ago. You're working so fast that I'm so much looking forward, like what are the stuff that is going to cross our path that we are going to work on. No, the cool thing is what you have with working with Charlotte is it's always on scale. It's always in big numbers, and it gives a big view on the world that we are doing. So I very much look forward on even more creating cool shows, building like these sub brands and creativity that help the artist.
And also set you apart actually as a management company, or because
yeah.
you're one of the few management companies I know in Belgium, at least, that behaves that way.
Yeah, well, we have also Alexander, that is a entrepreneur that loves to take a risk. I think that always also helps a lot. He's the guy that pushes you on saying, like, for example, if we the moment that we wanted to release the Drip Festival, I think Mathieu said, like, is this going to be like even this year? Because we don't have much time. But like, yeah, we're gonna do it this year. He's the guy who says, like,
Let's go.
let's go. You're thinking it,
Yeah.
and he has to back it up by saying, like, is it a risk? Is it not? And he dares to take some risks.
I think with artists, it's always a risk somewhere, because it's not, you're not following a guideline. You're just making up as you go. There are some stuff that you can do that has been proven to work, but
yeah, it's my job then to calculate how big the risk is. And usually it's always some, but it's not always that go bankrupt.
yeah. You're not
But-
just going all in and
Yeah,
betting the
yeah.
whole house.
For example, for me, so last year we with Context, we did shows at ADE each and every year. It was at Awakenings. It was always Charlotte that played the headliner. But we thought of an idea. Let's do it differently. Let's go from the arenas back to the club. So we built a pop-up club in the theater of Amsterdam. So it's a location that normally isn't a club. Actually, it's the back office, and we built a club from scratch. We only had electricity for almost 3,000 people for 3 nights. You know that you could probably sell these tickets. That's not the big risk. The big risk is that you wanted to build a club that's so cool that it's also a lot of production costs. You have a VJ working 3 days. You have a whole production team. You wanted to have crazy cocktails because we're all foodies. You wanted to build a club that people say, like, you don't build a club so exceptionally cool in show elements just for 3,000 people. It's just, you wanted to build. You want to build a brand. You want to build something cool. You want
leave an impression.
Yeah, you want people when they leave Amsterdam Dance Event that they said, like, we saw some cool shows, but how cool was that club from Charlotte? That's what you want people to talk about. So that's the risk on how crazy are we going to go, and do we have the money? In the end, it's always an investment. But for example, now we're going to come back. We announced it yesterday, but we're going to do 6 nights, or 3 days, 3 nights. So it getting bigger, and then the first thing that we always say is, how crazier can we then make the club?
Always pushing yourself.
Always push.
I always have one last question, and we're talking about investments. My question is parallel to that. If I were to able to give you a big bag of money on this table right now, in what would you invest it to help the music industry forward?
Whew. That's a good question, actually. I think if I would use the bag, I would make sure that we, as an example, then Context, we should invest that the label grows, but also that because the label helps artists. So if we become bigger and better, then we can help and scale other artists to have a good record label. It's the same thing that we do with Bazaar for Echo. So I think doing stuff, or generally wanting to do better, helps artists or the industry in generally. So it's because actually, well, what we do as a label is we're constantly trying to do stuff bigger and try to have more money to do an advertising campaign so the track becomes bigger, or have a good social campaign that has good content Well,
Yeah.
it costs. So I would use the money for that, because creativity. In terms of creativity, you can do cooler stuff.
For sure.
For example, what we did with the release of Charlotte's a few months ago is she had a track which was inspired by. So the track was called Roar. It's Roar is not only the lion, but it's also has a very good connotation with automotive racing cars. She loves she loves automotive, everything that has a motor in it. So we used the campaign on collaborating with Formula Drift, which is like Formula One but with drifting cars. So we wrapped the car completely in context colors and with Charlotte. And now, for example, we're seeing these extreme sporters using the track for creating their videos. And it's a cool thing to see, like guys skydiving or motocrossers, they're using the track because they've seen it with Formula Drift. It's that kind of thing that you wanted to do, not only for Charlotte, but all the other artists that are on record, all the labels that we have. It's building cool content. It's just it all costs so much. I think using that for each and every artist, not only artists that you have in your portfolio,
to grow.
I think it's fun to have as well.
Thank you very much, Glenn, for being here, for talking to me. It's a very nice conversation.
Yes, liked it.
I'm very excited to see what you're going to do next with the label in your personal life, but I wish you the best of luck.
Yes, thanks for inviting me.
Have a good day on the festival, I would say.
And night.
And night.
Probably.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, bye.